Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel here. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you guys about movies. Because, for one thing, I love talking about movies with you guys out there on YouTube. So, I'm actually your host here, but it's Rio Reviews. And honestly, to talk about from the each year from 2018 all the way up to 2024. What idea was this? This is my idea. I thought of this too. The top 20 best movies from each year from 2018 to 2024. And yes, this is going to be a heck of a fun video here. So sit down and relax and let's talk about it. For the 20 pick I chose from the year from 2022 was Black Adam. And honestly, from watching this film, I like how they bring villains into their own movie. Like with Black Adam, it was a weird choice to see Dwayne The Rock Johnson playing as Black Adam. I thought of that his a version of it was kind of cool. He's more like a buff, a fighter, and seeing him into a movie like this one was cool, very interesting take of Black Adam. And honestly, for number 19, I chose the movie from the year of 2018. It is the movie Rampage. On my scale of video game adaptation movies, Rampage was one of them. And I love how they did this movie because we have a gorilla involved, same as an alligator and a wolf, got into this giant beast monsters destroying the cities, and it was kind of cool to see how they did this movie. And it is a big blockbuster film. And we are going back to the year of 2023 of The Flash, the movie. And I know this is the low scale. It is number 18 for me. I'm a fan of The Flash because I watched the show, I watched the film, read the comics. Like from watching this movie, it was a big downfall for me. The big thing I did love in this film was Michael Keaton came back as the Batman. Like honestly, this movie itself was great. The story itself was kind of like, it wasn't too great, but Supergirl was like, what the heck was that? But honestly, it was an interesting movie. So we're going back to the year of 2021, by the way. The number 17 pick was Mortal Kombat. And yes, I'm a big fan for the game itself. I grew up playing the games. I played the most recent one that came out, Mortal Kombat 1. Great story, by the way. For this movie, they really took this from the games itself to make it into a big blockbuster film. Like, Mortal Kombat was a great film. I liked it when it came out and watched it on HBO Max. And it was a fun film. I did enjoy a little bit of the story. Oh, yeah. We are going back to the year of 2024, the last year. It was my number 16 pick on Godzilla and Kong A New Empire. Honestly, I did like this movie better. But I did like the story just a little bit because the whole aspect of the story of Kong story arc and Godzilla. Because I have all of the films besides the new one. I love how they did it with the story. It was fun, but very interesting take of how Kong's story arc involved. They may be doing another one, maybe in a few years from now. But yeah, it was like a fun movie. For my number 15th pick, we are going back to the year of 2023. It is Five Nights at Freddy's. I did like the first movie because this movie was great. I don't even know the full story of the lore itself of this movie. I watched my brother play the games a couple times. It was freaky from watching my brother play the game, but from watching this movie, it ain't that scary at all because I love how they brought those animatronics to life and seeing like the great actors in this film. It was fun, but really entertaining as well. And even though I don't even own the movie, I probably have to get it this year. For number 14th, we are going back to the year of 2022. I chose the movie Uncharted. And coming from a guy that loves playing the games itself, Uncharted itself in the movie, it was interesting because Tom Holland was playing as Nathan Drake, the young version of him. Mark Wahlberg playing as Sully, as you know, Victor Sullivan. Honestly, I like how they did with the movie just a little bit because the whole fill-in ways was kind of like goes up and down from the fill-ins, solving riddles, solving puzzles. Like it's kind of cool to see how they did this with a big movie like this. But even though I did enjoy the game itself, because they have all like 5 games, I thought maybe I could do that, like a fun YouTube series of playing the Uncharted games. But yeah, the movie itself was fun. We're going back to the year of 2019. The number 13 pick was Jumanji: The Next Level. This movie was the most rewatchable movie because I watched this movie over and over because the story itself was kind of cool. To the defense of the first Jumanji movie, when Welcome to the Jungle. I love how they did with the second because they went back into Jumanji to try to find his friend. It was cool how they did with the newer characters like Danny DeVito, Aquafina. Like, honestly, it was so cool to see how they did with this film. And then we're going back to the year of 2021 again. The number 12 pick, it is Free Guy. With Ryan Reynolds, I love Ryan Reynolds so much, but this movie was fun. Like, it really brings back the whole memories of different game characters in this movie, and it was so cool of how they did with this movie because Ryan Reynolds was himself acting like the comedian actor in this one. I love how they did with this movie. Really funny too. I would recommend you guys to check that one out. And number 11 is Onward that came out in 2020. Yes, this was a number 11 pick above Free Guy. I thought Free Guy would be above Onward, but Onward, on the other hand, was a great story about the brothers misses his dad and seeing like how they bring his dad back to life. And it calls for that big distraction of the massive dragon at the end of the film. Onward was a great story. I did enjoy that one a little bit, but I love how they did with the brothers involved in this movie because we have Chris Pratt in this film and Tom Holland. Overall, it was a cool film. To pick out to the top tens is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that came out in 2018. Yes, I picked this to number 10 because I love how they did with this movie. I love how they did with the story arc of introducing Miles Morales into the mix in this film. It is a Sony Marvel film. But deep down, I love how they did with this film because they brought a lot of different Spider-Man from different Spider-Verse from into this movie. Miles Morales has a story. Then the new one came out years later, Across the Spider-Verse, and that was a cool one too. But honestly, this was actually by far one of the best ones in the films. And I cannot wait for the Beyond the Spider-Verse to come out. For number 9, that came out in 2022 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Honestly, I'm glad this is in the top 10 for me because I love how they introduced Knuckles. I love how they did with the story in this one too because Robotnik came back from the Mushroom Kingdom. And even though Bushido mustache too, and I was like, dude, this could be hilarious. I saw this in theaters, and it was oh my god, even funnier than the first one because honestly, I love how they did with this film. Seeing Knuckles working with Robotnik, and in the end, Knuckles joined the heroes, Sonic and Tails. But Tails was cool to see him in this movie. I love how they did with Tails' story arc into this movie and seeing like how Knuckles kind of fought too. I love how they did with the story. It was funny because Jim Carrey is hilarious. I love his one-liners from each part of this film. And for number 8, it will be Forza, a Mad Max saga that came out last year. I love how they did with the story and deep down of how Forza was involved. Chris Hemsworth was in this movie too. Like, it was cool bringing this big major actors into this film. It was spectacular, a great movie. It was more of a dialogue movie than an action movie, but deep down, this was a fun one. I love how they did with this movie. For number 7, it is Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one. Honestly, I want this to be the top 5 for me, but Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one, is still my personal favorite movie. But because I love how they introduced Sonic in this movie, because seeing him try to adapt to the world in Green Hills, meeting Tom and Maddie, and it's kind of cool to see how they kind of fought for Sonic. And Robotnik came out, and I was like, dude, this movie is even hilarious. Like, I love how they did with the first Sonic movie. It's so funny. And for number 6, it is Knives Out that came out in 2019. Honestly, I saw this movie with my brother and his friends, and I saw it, and I was like, dude, I love a good murder mystery movie because it's so fun, but really more entertaining in my book. Because the story, the other great actors like Jamie Lynn Curtis, Chris Evans, um, everyone else was so spot on. I love how they did with the story arc too. And now, beginning into the top fives. Number five that came out in the year of 2019 was John Wick, Chapter 3. And you got it because, for one thing, I'm a big fan for action movies, and John Wick Chapter 3 was awesome. Like, I love how they did with the movie because more action, more story arc, more intense moments. I was like, dude, what's gonna happen next with John Wick? And honestly, it was fun, a fun movie so much. I was like, awesome. And for number four, that came out in the year of 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And yes, I love how they did with this movie because, for one thing, it's a big send off for Star Lord because he went back to Earth to be with his dad, or back with his dad again, but he'll be back in the upcoming Marvel films. But honestly, I love how they did with the story too because the feeling was cool. A high evolution. It's more of a Walker Raccoon story arc. But even though I love how they did with this film, great, fun movie. For number three, it is Spider-Man: No Way Home that came out in 2021. I first saw this movie when it came out. I was like, dude, this movie was awesome. Like Spider-Man: No Way Home, I watch this movie like all the time. It's by far my go-to movie to watch all the time because I love the part in all the other Spider-Mans and all the villains from each different universe, from Tobey Maguire's universe and Andrew Garfield. And seeing those two came back, I was like, oh my god, that this movie was awesome. For the runner-up, that is number two for me, it is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And yes, this was in the top fives because I love how they did with this film. Like, honestly, seeing Shadow story arc scene with Moria and everything else was so like, wow. I was shocked to see Robotnik came back and his papa Jared Robotnik, and seeing like how those two was Jim Carrey, and I was like, dude, how can he do those both characters? But even though it was epic and yet awesome, for the number one spot for this list, I know for one thing it came out in 2019, and it is a Marvel movie. I chose the Avengers Endgame, and yes, this movie was a highlight of that year for me because I love how they did with the story of how they went back in time to get all the stones to undo Thanos' snap. Seeing how Ant-Man was involved, bringing Tony Stark back, Steve Rogers, everyone came back from the last mission to stop Thanos again. From the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I was like, dude, now this movie was awesome and yet epic. I was like, dude, this movie was awesome. But that was the top 20 best movies from each year from 2018 to 2024. Hope you guys enjoy this list. I hope you guys actually enjoy all these movies I picked out. But let me know in the comments below which one of these films was your favorite. Thank you all for coming to But Real Reviews. Bye, everybody.